Morning, morning monsters. Well, I've been having rather a week, and it's been interesting. It's been really, really interesting. It's fun stuff I can't yet talk about, but I look forward to talk about in the near future. So that'll be good. But today I wanted to talk about a fun little YouTube experiment that I accidentally ran last night. So last night we were watching some Bones because I got back late from the office, and me and the wife are binging through that on Amazon at the moment. And afterwards, getting ready for bed, we threw up some YouTube stuff, and I think we threw up like 2 SNL skits. We threw up the Alex trailer reveal thing because I wanted to rewatch that. And then we started playing some MS... we started playing some MS3K movie on YouTube. And then we turned off the TV and dozed off to bed. Unbeknownst to us, we had left on the Chromecast, right? A wonderful little symbol you always forget about. Well, anyway, so to recap, we had the Alex trailer. So that's the Steam VR thing. We had Bones, but that Bones doesn't apply because Bones is over here and it was on Amazon. So that is a red herring. It was just part of the story. We had 2 SNL skits. And then we watched MST3K, right? And that is the point at which we went to bed, okay? At which point the YouTube algorithm sent us on an NSL binge, right? It's not super clear against the PC there. So we're now on this SNL binge, okay? But here's the funny part. SNL has a whole bunch of guests. Musical guests, regular hosts, all that stuff. And at some point, BTS comes on. So this is now, I think it must be around 3-4 in the morning that these SNL plus BTS. And this is 3 videos come on. And then the recommender switches tracks and it's all BTS content until I turn off the Chromecast this morning at around around 7ish. I turned it off. BT bad sound good. So yeah, so that's what happens. But this immediately starts firing off in my brain because I've been doing a whole bunch of recommender work the last 2 years and a whole bunch of data analysis stuff, and I've read a bunch of papers on YouTube's recommender and on YouTube's just general corpus of work that they've published. Don't worry, I'll keep this all very friendly. But the thing that YouTube learned is rather, while you can rate individual videos and you can do sort of analysis and classification on individual videos, so you can figure out that this is a video about BTS, that it tends to have a high signal quality, so that could be things like it's now that high quality is not necessarily watch quality. It could be things like it doesn't have much blurring, the camera works pretty good. Google's doing a lot of image analysis on these videos. They're searching for child porn. They're doing a lot of horrific things. So while they're there, they do this analysis anyway on their videos. But one of the interesting things that a few Google papers have pointed out is that figuring out if a person likes a video is not actually as easy as people think, because yes, you can do it, and they do it, but people are very moody. We're very mood-driven characters. And so what they actually decided was, you know what we can do that is very specific and very measurable is we can do transition analysis. So rather than looking at the nodes, we can look at the edges. So this is basically looking at people who went from video A to video B. And that's so basically if you're watching, so you may be into blacksmithing videos, say, for example, Alex Steele videos. So that is something you watch. But if you watch an Alex Steele video on, I don't know, one of his longer like multi-part crafting videos, and then you go over, oh dear, I'm drawing on myself. Sorry, that was a little bit of amusement for myself. So yeah, if you're watching like an Alex Steele video, and then you go over to say a primitive technology video, I'm really sort of revealing my view habits as I sort of give these examples. That's a good transition, right? You were kind of in the mood for that, and like you were in a crafty mood. Whereas let's say that some people then went off onto, you know what, I'm just going to say sort of SNL, right? There, because we've been talking about SNL and they've got a large corpus and, you know, they matter on YouTube. So rather than judging the quality of this video or the quality of that video, which they do because while it's very hard to say, is this apple pie better than this apple pie, it's very easy to say this apple pie is better than a pile of shit. You know, there's some very easy quality bars they can do, especially because image analysis and things like caption analysis, where there was a custom thumbnail, things like that. There's a lot of sort of quality measures they can sort of pin in, and they can bucket stuff, at least in terms of this is A tier content, B tier content, C tier content. You know, you can do these broad tier lists of content. But these transitions matter more, because while someone might have an SNL viewing habit, they're not necessarily in the mood for it when they're watching Alex Steele. You know, even though they have watched a lot of Alex Steele, a lot of SNL, and a lot of primitive technology, the obvious translation for them is to move them from an Alex Steele video over to a primitive technology video. And by training on transitions or training on edges, you have a very measurable effect, right? Because basically you can say when people went from A to B, did they finish that? So, you know, did they finish the video? Did they turn off the website? You know, so did they stop playing videos? Did they stop watching videos? And that's a negative one, right? That's like the worst case. If they finish the video, let's call that like a 2.5. If they subbed, or if they liked, try and draw a little. You know what? I'm just going to say +1. If they +1'd it, right, then that's some points. Yeah, we're losing a bit of things here. So having fun just doodling on myself. So yeah, you can basically say A to B. You can look at, say, the 1,000 transitions you have of that state. Yeah, hold on. You can do the whole. What you need to do is the little +20. Yeah. Anyway, it's how I actually love to do my sort of tutorial videos, and I plan to do more dream tutorial videos in the near future, and I'll probably be bringing back my old style of how I did Unity videos. It's a bit more edit work, but it's fun. Anyway, we can look at 1,000 transitions of A to B, and we can make a very good quality judgment on how good a transition that is. And now if we want to get really fancy, you can do cohort analysis, which is you can bucket people into things, and so that's like, and how you bucket people is really important. But this is where you start doing things like, well, these are the people watching video A, right? And these people subbed, and these people were, let's say, new viewers on YouTube, or these people were on mobile, say, right? So you can do these kind of subs, and they can do Venn diagrams, and you can do analysis, and this is where you start going mad with data science. But the thing that I found so fascinating about this mini experiment, so there is one about, Tom Scott did do a talk. I don't think it's actually that useful. I mean, it is useful. Yeah, it's. So I did a very similar talk, not as good a talk, but I did a very similar talk that was a lot harsher in Norway. Ironically, about a week before Tom gave his talk at the Royal Institution, and it was on a lot of this kind of stuff. That was my cyberpunk talk. So yeah, I've been thinking about this stuff for a long time. It's problematic. But putting aside the issues of bias and recommenders and why we're in a little bit of hell, I just thought this was a funny experiment that I accidentally ran with my Chromecast last night. And it tells me a few things. First of all, because you're doing that transition analysis, right? One of the most obvious things, if you just transition from content that is the same, especially if it's on the same channel, and especially if the channel's content is very samey, it's likely to keep people engaged. Now, it has to be engaging content, right? Because the thing that YouTube, and this is the same of a lot of recommenders, right? This is not just YouTube's recommender we're talking about. Like Steam does this as well. A lot of these things apply to various different places. Everyone's stealing each other's work. Transitions matter. On-site, onto-site transitions and off-site transitions. You know, I'm actually going to redraw that because I'm going to say on-site transitions and off-site transitions really matter. So if your video takes people off YouTube, or if your game, if you're browsing Steam, takes you off Steam, that's a big negative. But on the flip side, if it brings it on to Steam or onto YouTube, that's really positive. So for instance, if you're posting a video on Twitter, or you're posting it on Steam or whatever, and you're getting traffic from external sources onto their website, if you're someone who brings traffic into their website, that's a big deal, and that really pushes you up in the recommender. Whereas if your video is a video that takes people off the website, it could be because it's boring, it could be because your video's got a call to action like go play this video game now or whatever, that is a big no-no for the recommender. So yeah, that is the state of how that works. So the interesting thing here, one of the reasons why SNL does so well is SNL is inherently engaging content, right? They make quality content. They're they're not making Emmy Award winning stuff. I mean, they do win some awards and stuff, but the content is short form, keeps people super engaged. There's a lot of it. They have a big back catalog, so they can keep you going onto different SNL videos. But your transition, it's hyper engaging content, it's short form, and your transition from SNL video to SNL video to SNL video is a very easy transition. The characters are familiar. There's a lot of running gags, there's a lot of jokes, and all that kind of stuff happens. So the gravity of, I suppose this is a better way to describe it, sort of the gravity of SNL is pretty big, right? SNL's got this big aura. Okay, now SNL has a lot of people come onto it. So you'll see this with a lot of talk shows and stuff. Talk shows do really well on YouTube just because of how the format and how the recommender and how samey and how watchable it is. They've got a lot of these celebs and stuff that come in, and because of these, now these might not be tier 1 recommendations, these might not be immediate shift overs to people, but in your list of, I'm just going to put it over here, in your list of videos on the side, this probably is an SNL video, this is probably an SNL video, but these here might be a video from that guest or a video from that guest kind of thing, right? You might get some recommendations there. So that's where it starts to get interesting. But for top tier recommendations, i.e. the autoplay, what should just automatically play next, you have to be safe as houses because it's autoplay. You don't want to take any risks with it. So you're not going to test out new content for that. You test out new content in slot 2. You test out new content in slot 3. Not in slot 5, 6, because people tend not to scroll down there. Maybe slot 10 is where you put real risque content, as in like, this is a transition we're not 100% sure about, but let's try it. You know, and when I say all that, this is a machine algorithm making these decisions. But you can program risk into the recommender. But then you get this big orbit of BTS come in, right? Now, if there was only one SNL and BTS video, I don't think this would work, because now this is where the problem starts getting really, really tricky. If we're doing edge transition analysis, now the naive and obvious thing to do and the sort of first step to do is to look at one transition, right? To look at one hop. The more sophisticated thing to do is to look at 2 hops. Look at the last 2 videos you watched. And the more sophisticated thing is look at like 3 hops, right? And you might go, okay, so how does this actually work? I could turn this into a video about one hot encoding and all this kind of stuff. But needless to say, one of the ways, I'm going to get very, very briefly, if you think about a video plotting how, I don't know, how funny a video is versus how, I don't know, how long a video is, right? Any video could be plopped onto this space, right? Now, imagine you encoded every video into, like, I don't know, 256 dimensional space, right? So 256 of these axes. So you've got loads of these points, right? So then what you can do is you can start doing things like adding up those vectors and building up past transitions things. But the important thing is you can do mathematical operations on the sort of last 3 videos you watched. Or the last 2 hops or whatever. There's different ways to do that. But there's ways of doing that with recommenders. Now, I think that YouTube is probably not doing one hop anymore. I've got to double check the papers of what they're actually up to. But because there were 3 BTS videos in their playlist, what that suggests to me is you've got people on an SNL binge, right? They're going down this SNL funnel. And then they hit a BTS video. And then they hit another one. And then they hit another one. Now, there is going to be a fair portion of people who, when they hit that first one, are like, BTS is not for me, skip video or go to another SNL video, and they go back. Now, if that number was too high, this transition would not work. Right, they wouldn't score this transition. Now, as I say, remember we talked about cohorts and stuff. There are other factors here, but we're keeping it simple. But then you go to the next video, and it's like, oh, BTS, this person likes BTS, and then go to the next video. And then the relative size of SNL versus BTS kicks in. And you're like, well, your last 3 videos have been BTS videos. They've been BTS and SNL. Sorry, noises. They've been BTS and SNL, but they've been BTS videos. Well, turns out Planet BTS is bigger than Planet SNL. And most people who watch these last 3 videos actually transition off into the land of BTS. So that's where it starts to become very, very fascinating and interesting. I think that if SNL had only had 1 BTS video, this effect would not happen. But because they had 3, this effect happens. So this is like the reason why I'm talking through all this is I think there's a few interesting outcomes. So interesting outcome 1. Partnership equals transition. Okay, so this is when you co-op on a video, right? So that's the first interesting thing. But the difference between 1 video, 2 video, and say 3 video on your channel, especially if those 3 videos are similar, like in this case, the BTS singing on SNL, that's when you start to actually build an off-ramp from your content. So let us say you are Tom Scott and you do 1 video with Alex Steele. I'm just going to go with Alex Steele again because he's in my head. You do 1 video with Tom Scott and Alex Steele. That has a lot of organic reach where people are watching the video and going, oh, right, I as a person and being exposed to this, and there's like a whole bunch of marketing effects and go check out their channel and blah, 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 blah. And some people will, and there will be a small little off-ramp built into that video where the chance that you switching lanes for the content is, it's there. But if I'm on a binge on track A, the chances that I switch to track B are relatively low if track A has a whole bunch of more stuff, right? If track A has a bunch more stuff I can watch and the YouTube recommender or the Netflix recommender or whatever thinks that can keep me on. However, if you do a multi-part series collaboration or you do several collaborations with another YouTuber over time that are very similar and very watchable and people tend to sort of watch back to back. Like, let's say, so this is the interesting part, is I think a lot of BTS fans went onto SNL to watch their appearance on SNL because they're BTS fans, right? So they've never, watched SNL. So that is a big on-ramp signal, right? Because a lot of them are coming probably from fan sites, forums, Twitter, third-party sources. They're coming off-site sources. So that BTS SNL video's got good pull. It's got good traction. The recommender likes that. They then watch all the appearances of BTS on SNL because, again, they're fans of BTS and they're in the SNL track at the moment. So they do that. They then go back to watching their BTS videos, and if the recommender autoplays them or rolls them onto more SNL content, they might not be interested. The K-pop group BTS, yes, we're talking about the K-pop group BTS. They might not be interested in more SNL because they watch the SNL and they're like, no, we were here for music. They're not in the mood to watch a comedy sketch. So they then exit. So that then penalizes the transition from BTS plus SNL to SNL content for this huge swarm of fans who've come to watch this content. So they have effectively built an off-ramp from all SNL content into BTS content with that appearance. Hey, want to get up? Sorry, my cat's being silly on the background. So then, this is where it gets interesting, is I think, so YouTubers have referral analytics on their YouTube channel. You can see your top traffic sources, where you get your traffic from onto your channel. But the thing that YouTube doesn't show you, which they could show you, and I think would make, I don't think necessarily it would make YouTube better, but I think it would make YouTube better for YouTube's goals, is they could show you your off-ramps. They could show you, when people watch your video, what is the most likely next piece of content to go to, right? Because if people are watching your video, right? So let's say you've got 3 videos, okay? And let's say you knew that the retention on your channel, i.e. they're going to watch off another one of your videos, is 80% on this, and it's 70% on this. But then it's 20% on this. Now you can look at that video and you can go, well, actually it was a shit video. It's got poor engagement. And a lot of people are basically tuning into that video and then turning off YouTube. They've decided to stop watching YouTube content. That's like a bad signal. But if that YouTube video was, I don't know, you doing a Lego segment, you may be accidentally, without you knowing, offloading your viewers into more Lego videos instead of more you videos. Likewise, if you're building, let's say, dreams videos, right? Do they then go onto another one of your videos, or do they then go onto another dreams person's video, right? So this is it. And I think the reason why I say I don't know whether or not this would make YouTube better, or whether it would make this YouTube content better, because I don't like stickiness as a goal. I think stickiness as a goal for a creative is meh. But YouTube gives a huge fuck about stickiness, which is why so much of its algorithm is emphasizing this. And so I think if they exposed maybe just this percentage number, but more interestingly, if they exposed the actual, say, top 3 traffic sources that people watched after your video, the thing that is really interesting to you then is you can go, oh, wow, okay, my viewers who are coming onto the channel went off and watched the blacksmithing video, or they went off and watched the math video. That's the kind of content they wanted from me and that I didn't provide enough of. That's when it starts to get really interesting. So yeah, this is totally because of, as I say, a Chromecast experiment that I just ran accidentally last night by leaving my Chromecast running, and the fact that I've been doing recommendation work for the last 2 years for Dreams. I mean, I haven't been doing it recently. I've been on Twitch and other stuff. Recommended in other hands at the moment. Has been for a while. But yeah, I kind of want to get back to it now, because I'm just looking at this. I'm like, damn, I love doing this stuff. I love doing this stuff. But yeah, that is welcome. Thank you for coming to another morning talk. That is my little morning talk on why I think how I think the on-ramp and off-ramp system is affecting the recommender, and specifically how it worked in this particular case. And my recommendation to YouTube creators would be, be careful with your partnerships, especially if you've got a multi-part video partnership with someone. Be careful with that, especially if they're a bigger person. You may actually just be building an off-ramp into your content. That's not to say that collabs aren't great, because 1 or 2 videos probably won't have this effect. BTS is obviously a big phenomenon, so they carve a big off-ramp. But it's an interesting effect. It's a very, very interesting effect. And yeah. Anyway, with that being said, I'm going to see, do you guys have any very specific questions about this before we stop the recording on this? Any very specific questions on this? Okay, doesn't look like it, so we'll wrap this up. I'll be back to my lobby series next week. So for those of you on YouTube, ta-ta for now.